Hello, everyone in Texas, and welcome to our 23rd edition of Cine Las Americas International Film Festival. I'm Alan McLean Alejos, one of the programmers, and I have the pleasure to present this Q&A session with director Nicole Costa, who delivered such a beautiful documentary, The Journey of Mona Lisa. Nicole, first of all, congratulations for being part of our festival this year. And the first question that I want to throw is, trying to start from the beginning of your personal journey and story with Ivan. And of course, when he has already become Mona Lisa, when you phone him and try to reach to him upon your arrival in New York City, what was your real expectation of, trying to reconnect with an old classmate, an old friend from Chile? Did you know his journey of what was he was going through? Of there were already some news of him back in Chile. How was that process when you decided to call him?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be part of this great festival, and I'm so glad to be here. And responding to your question, well, it was a very natural process actually, because the story is back in Chile when we met in the 90s, at the end of the 90s, no, at the beginning of the 90s, 93, yeah. We were studying, we were classmates, not classmates, he was older than me, so he was about to finish. That's why when the scholarship year finished, he disappeared. So I totally lost his track at that time. He was a friend of mine because he was a wonderful artist, and I admired him a lot because at that time he identified himself as a gay person, which was very weird. I mean, not weird, but I mean, not everybody was talking about, the identities at that time, because we were coming out from a dictatorship and we were in the transition, and, those subjects were very private. So it was kind of very impactful for me that he was so open and frontal with his identity at that time. And we become friends easily. And also he was such a great artist and very different, very free spirit, and that's why I think we become really good friends. But when the scholarship year finished, he disappeared. I lost his track. I went to Spain to study there, where I studied filmmaking there in the university in Spain. And after 17 years, I decided to come to New York because I got married here. And I was always impacted by my friend, remembering him. Even I had, lost his track, but I was all the time, talking about him. So I talked to my husband about that. And he said that he was a very important person in the way that he really showed me a different perspective of life, not just in arts, but in life. He was a free spirit, very, breaking all the rules in the good sense, in the good way, being brave, questioning everything, And my husband told me, well, Nicole, looks like it's a very important person for you. So I think you should search for him. If you know that he is in New York, around here, because I heard that he was, living here, but I didn't know where exactly. So I started to track him. I started, write emails, here and there. And then I got this telephone number. I called to the number, and you can see this in the film. And I found him. So that was such a great, discovering. And from there, well, the story is in the film, and I decided, to start to recording our encounters, but not because I thought that I was, filming a film. I didn't know at that time. At the beginning, it was very, very natural. And then just the story, start to appear there. And I just said like, well, I'm going to follow the story. Oh, it's in the documentaries, no? Because it's the real life.
Yeah, amazing. Of course, you mentioned during the film, so that's when I had the chance to ask you personally. Thanks. And during that time, you were spent filmmaking, with him and getting to know different people in around the New York City LGBT community. Did you discover also similar stories as events or similar journeys? How was it to be involved in that atmosphere?
Well, for me, it was very impactful discovering that he was a sexual worker, at the very beginning. Because for me, my idea of him that it was that he was a great artist with a very promissory career in Chile. So the first question, not because of moral thing, but it was why such a great and talented artist decide, you know, totally out of the blue, in my view, to cut everything from his hometown, and came to a totally different country to start from the beginning, in the anonymous, totally unknown person with no papers, with no permission to work, with no, and also with this addiction, to the drugs, and in a very marginal way. So my first question was, there had to be a very good reason, for that choice, for that decision. And obviously, I discovered it was very important for him to start a new beginning. It was very important for him reconstruct, rebuild his identity as Mona Lisa, and realize that he wasn't a gay person, he was a transgender person. And that is something that I really didn't know before. I had a lot of, I have a lot of, gay friends, but, and also transsexuals, but transgender, it wasn't that in the very wide spectrum, and very more complex, choice of identity choice, very natural for him. But anyway, that was a great discovery for me. I really wanted to start the film from my ignorance, from my total ignorance about the subject.
Wow, that's great. So now let's try to move to a more cinematic side of your film. I don't know if you could share with the audience and with us part of your process of how do you connect Ivan's writings with Mona Lisa's personas in a more visual way? Because I found quite engaging and quite lovely, beautiful how you create these, animated sequences to try to translate the poems and giving this collage feel of the movie. How was it from a more visual point of view of the film?
Well, at the beginning, well, it was, giving to me the aesthetic, decisions because of, in a very natural way again, because I started with a telephone recording, and then I start, when I realized that I was, making a film, that it was a great, extraordinary story, I decided to sophisticate my equipment. So I got, a better camera and sound system and etc. So I think there's a lot of, textures, very different. Also, we incorporate this archive material, which is also very rough, and I love, the result that it was a very eclectic film, a kind of collage, I was, working in a collage there. And it was interesting because I knew from the beginning that I wanted also that New York were a character in the film, because it is, because in New York, I think the city, the context was very important. So with the editor, Melissa Miranda, which is a amazing professional and very sensitive, he understood very well, this eclecticism, and it was very important, for us to incorporate this in the sense of it's going to be, the style of the film. So she, for example, she doesn't want it, to use the traditional voiceover, for the film to explain some scenes, because she wanted, to be go more challenging, in the process. And we decided to incorporate, the call phones, as, a way to narrate, and also to narrate our relationship as a friends. So I think it was a very, good decision at the end, because it's a very original way to tell the story.
Wow, yeah, well, it's amazing. Yeah, yeah, you can tell right away that the whole documentary is an organic cinematic experience in such a the extensive sense of the word. So now this documentary, of course, was shot before pre-pandemic times, and we kind of had a closure that Ivan's and Melissa wanted to travel to Chile. As Ivan being able to travel back there, so he or she can know what has been his experience of he's still here in New York.
He's still in New York. A lot of things had happened after the film. Okay. Very interesting. Well, he's still in the process to receive his permission to travel. So she has not been able yet to go to Chile, but we hope this year is going to be the year. We'll see. Because of the pandemic, it was so, very slow, everything, the process. And anyway, it wasn't, possible to travel. But let's see. But after the film, she could, launch her first book. And after the book, she was like discovered for other, publishing house and contacted for them. And now, before yesterday, she launched the last book, which is an amazing book, and launched it with a very, very important, editorial publishing house from here, Astra Publishing House. It's great. And she was in the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic, nobody could, get out, and everybody was locked. So Pedro Almodovar, the filmmaker from Spain, could, read the book there in his house. And he was totally amazed for the literature, and he made a great review. And after that, it was like, wow, like a rocket. Wow. It's a lot of, offers. So it's very impressive, because I think it's amazing, how our reencounter, start to be a very positive, change for both of us. Monalisa could, be more strong in her role as a writer, and I could, make it as a filmmaker too. This is my first, film, and also I have been a lot of, good things happening in my life after this film. So it's great, because it's such a great, how to say, like an award from our friendship,
It's great to hear that. And taking advantage of this point you're talking about, any upcoming projects you have, Nicole, on the horizon?
Yes.
On the pandemic, yeah.
Absolutely, yes. So this, we always try to take advantage of all the, situations, no? So in the pandemic, I start to check all the footage that I had, before. And I start to check again the footage that I had from Mauricio Maxima, which is one of the characters in the film, the Argentinian friend who used to record everything with a camera. And I realized that it's such an amazing material. So he has been, recording all his life from Argentina, and then in Miami when he started, to work as a sexual worker also there. And it's another journey, but very different, because for me the most important part was he could recover the habit of recording with me, because I gave him a camera again in this point. So he started to work now in the pandemic, And it's a very different material because it's more about the sexual work, you know, the vulnerability in the pandemic of the sex workers, you know.
Right.
And it's a great document, it's a great testimony. So yeah, I'm very focused working on that now.
Wow, so we're looking forward to watching this new material. It looks like you know, a sequel from the journey of Mona Lisa. Hopefully we can screen it, you know, next time soon in Austin. And thanks again for such a great documentary, Nicole. On behalf of the festival, we wanted to congratulate you again and also to acknowledge and celebrate the positive message from the film. And also, you know, as also we're celebrating the Pride Month as well. So that's a good timing for the journey of Mona Lisa. So guys, so I hope you have enjoyed this great talk with Nicole Costa. The journey of Mona Lisa is part of the documentary feature competition. So be sure to vote for your favorite film. Thanks again for supporting the festival, and I hope you're enjoying the program. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you so
Buenas
much.
Noches. Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
Buenas tardes. Gracias.